once again, as you can see, the tank is just huge and it's full of weak spots on the side and the back. It's really easy to overexpose yourself, and yeah, like if you want to do damage, you need to do that sometimes. As you can see, the guard is peeking there. Aim that carefully right into his track. 700 damage, that's really good. Hello guys and welcome back. Today we are continuing our World of Tanks A to Z series with the next candidate of the Polish beast, the 60 TP. Now, is it going to be a beast or is it going to be a letdown? Find out in the video. So let's again take a quick look at the stats. We have the 60 TP brought up in tanks.gg, and I have already set up with the equipment I used to play this tank with. Now this is rammer, verstabs and turbo. Now there's an interesting thing. Now this tank has a lot of HP already. You can see that this tank has around 2.7k HP, which is very healthy if you have all the field modifications researched. 2.7 is very healthy. One thing that this tank is very lackluster in, that is mobility, and for that you need to have turbo on it. Now I have put on and mounted the Bond turbo, which gives you all these lovely bonuses, but you can also go ahead and after you have reached the 6th slot on the field modifications, you can select a mobility slot, and you can also put in case you don't have the Bond turbo, you can put in a regular turbo, which is just a little bit worse. It's only like minus 2.5% engine power, minus 1 top forward speed. So that's still really good. You're not gonna be missing that much, but yeah, you wanna have the top speed maxed out. You wanna have the power to weight ratio maxed out. It's 15 actually. It's pretty good now. I'm playing with food. All the crew skills, like the most important skills, are obviously repairs, Brothers in Arms, Smooth Ride, Snapshot, and the 2 view range skills as Recon and Situational Awareness, and also was playing it with the Amorec Directive. Now, we have put up the field modifications up to level 8, and we are going to be playing with all-terrain suspension. Once again, this is very good, plus 7% to maintaining speed when crossing all terrain types. It's a massive thing for terrain resistance, for accelerating and not losing speed over bad terrain. And once again, we want to get the minus 3% aiming circle as well. It puts us up to 0.33 dispersion, which is not too bad for a heavy tank with this kind of alpha damage. Now here, I will leave this up to you. I personally like taking extra view range because artillery is obviously going to be a concern. But since you're not running vents, you're going to be missing some of that view range. So you'll want to run that extra view range field modification here. Now the level 7 is very interesting. You can take plus 4 top forward speed, which is really good, man. You're gonna get 45 top speed, and that's really good if you can actually reach that. And you can reach that because you have really okay power to weight ratio, and the turn resistances are pretty bad, but still you kind of want this. You're gonna lose a hefty amount of aiming time, but trust me, this is going to be worth it in the long run, getting from point A to point B on the battlefield. Now level 8, you've got reinforced platform, which kind of messes around with your dispersion, plus 4%. It's not great, but it's not that much, honestly. It's not that much, ladies and gentlemen. And you are going to get extra 50 HP, which is really good, because most of the time you'll be wanting to trade with this tank and you'll be in the front line taking kits for yourself and your teammates. So you definitely want to max out the vehicle's hit points and take the left option here. Now let's take a look at the overall stats. Weaponry 3100 DPM. That's pretty good. 15 seconds reload time. That's average. 3 seconds aiming time because of all this extra stuff. Because you'll be fighting mostly at close range, it's not gonna matter that much. But still, it's quite hefty. But your dispersion, once you're fully aimed, is actually quite okay for the alpha damage of this tank. Dispersion factors are alright. One thing that this tank is really good at, it has a 152mm gun, which is going to be, if you're shooting AP rounds, that's going to be really good for overmatching targets. Like some of those mediums and heavy tanks which don't have that good sidearm, you can actually easily overmatch with 152mm of the gun, and that's because of the 3 caliber rule that's in the game. Basically, if the enemy has 30mm of armor on the side, and if you have a gun the caliber that's 3 times above it. Basically, for example, anything above 90 millimeters, so 100mm gun will already overmatch it and pen it in case you're shooting AP rounds, no matter the angle. So let's take a look at the heat shell it actually has. Oh yeah, the AP shell is very lackluster in terms of penetration. Now 250mm of pen is simply not enough to punch through most of those heavy tanks that you're going to be facing at tier 10. And it has 317 on the heat shells, which is also not that great, but you're forced to use this shell quite often simply because the AP is very lackluster. Now the velocity is 900mm per second, it's very standard. Heichi, however, has 950 damage, which is really healthy, and you're going to be wanting to use that, especially because it has 90mm of penetration as well. Now, once again, let's take a quick look at the mobility. 45 top speed, 18 reverse speed. That's really healthy for a super heavy tank, and I like to call this a super heavy tank because it basically plays like an EVA 100, and it doesn't really play like an IS-7 or whatever. You're just a big ball of HP, and with a huge gun, you want to use that to your advantage as well at close range. Now, effective top speed 45. Yeah, as I said, I already mentioned about the mobility. If you have all these things, research, the field modification, and the turbo slot, 45 top speed is very healthy for this. Terrain resistance is okay. As I said, 8 degrees of gun depression, however, is very healthy, and you're going to be wanting to take use of that quite often. Now, the armor, we'll check in a second. 2,730 HP, it's really good. Track health, yeah, you're gonna be tracked first shot, 6-second repair time for tracks, and 452 view range, which is also not bad. Now, let's take a look at the 3D model of this tank. As you can see, this tank is very random. Like, there are big weak spots against heat ammunition and potentially high calibers. With AP, you'll definitely want to be aiming at the first lower plate here, which is quite thin actually. I'll show you in a second. It's quite easy to miss. So for example, if you're about the same size as this tank, your gun can actually miss at a longer range, and that's kind of good in case you're playing 6DP and you can basically hit the bottom of this tank. Now I'm using obviously 152mm shells, which is going to overmatch the bottom of this tank, but anything else can miss. Now let's take a quick look and let's load heat shells, and let's just see. Yeah, you can see that this tank is full of weak spots. If you have anything above 300 millimeters of penetration, you have multiple targets on this tank that you can shoot. You have the lower plate, you have this little commander's or driver's hatch over here, you have the entirety of this turret ring right here, you have the side armor here, the side plate, which is very weak, 70mm of armor, 255 effective health. You can even pen that with AP. Well, you could pen that with AP, but you can see it's very angled, so AP is just going to ricochet off, but you can still pen this, you can still pen this. Cupola is also quite prominent on this tank with the massive middle weak spot. And the thing is that this tank can actually side script quite well. It's just a matter of the enemy hitting this in case they are loading gold ammunition. But if they hit here, anywhere here, they are just going to be penetrating you automatically. The side is very weak, it's very flat. It's one thing that a lot of people mess up is just shooting here, which can actually cause big bounces off the side of the turret. But once you have the side profile of this tank, you just want to aim at the back of the turret, and it's going to be giving you the weakest armor possible. Also, it gets very easily set on fire if you shoot it here, right? This is where the fuel tanks are, so bear in mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are playing on Siegfried line, and let's see how this tank is going to fare in a very healthy, no artillery tier 8 game as a top tier super heavy tank. Now, let me already tell you that I don't really like these kind of tanks, or let's say I didn't really like them before the turbo came in, because they were just really slow, and I don't really like this static kind of gameplay. I like to move around the battlefield and switch from flank A to flank B quite fast. Now, after turbo came out, and especially Bone Turbo, you just see that these tanks like the EVA 100, the 60TP, and especially the mouse has become much more playable because of the extra speed that you can get. And that's really making them a bit broken in my opinion, because World of Tanks used to be quite balanced. You know, the heavy tanks used to be really slow, but when you can get your heavy tank up to 40 kilometers an hour top speed, and it's just really powerful. Now, the first shot onto the Hawk was not that lucky for us, and also we missed the second one on the object. And I'm playing here on the right side. We spot the Scorpion, and this guy is going to be very annoying if I want to pick up on those medium tanks on the right side. But we can use the gun depression here. Also, this tank is huge, and I mean huge. Now you can see that this little tier 8 has to aim on my tank to pan it, but he misses, and we put an hefty 860 millimeter or 860 shell into the tank instantly. And we can't really finish him, but the Scorpion G already punishes us once there for our turret, basically, because we turned it towards the 274. It's very, very unlucky. Also a big roll. Now let's see if those guys will try to make their way across. And once again, as you can see, the tank is just huge, and it's full of weak spots on the side and the back. It's really easy to overexpose yourself. And yeah, like if you want to do damage, you need to do that sometimes. As you can see, the guard is peeking there. Aim that carefully right into his track. 700 damage, that's really good. And yeah, like the 50-second reload is going to be making you not have that kind of bad DPM that you would expect on a tank of this size, especially against these very, very lightly armored and very, very lightly HP'd tanks of those tier 8s that the enemy has. But right now, also one thing that you guys may have noticed, the only reason I came to this side was because of the lack of artillery. If that was an artillery piece, he would obviously be focusing on me, and I would be basically forced to play the middle of the city. Now the IS-3A peeks up, we finish him off as a very careless peek from him, but this pattern is still there. And let's see if we can actually develop this game into something. Now those guys are not really trying to taste the might of this 750 alpha damage gun, but the Progetto is actually peeking there with his cupola, and we can get a shot on him, and we actually connect. 784, huge hit right there, taking more than half of his HP away. And yeah, let's see how this game is going to... The guard is trying to peek again, and oh, very careless, very careless. It took me 2 shots to finish that guard. So yeah, I was saying I don't really enjoy tanks like the 6DP because it has a very, very sluggish gun. It takes ages to aim. If you are in an artillery matchup, like triple artillery on Prorovka or Cliff or Mines or whatever, you are very, very... It's very hard to play that position and that kind of situation. It's very hard to like develop into anything good. So also, I much more prefer the E100 because of the gun. It's a faster loading gun with less alpha damage but much more DPM. And also, a lot of people underestimate the E100's armor, so you can just surprise them with a lot of angles. I'll show that in my E100 video once we get there. And we have pushed towards the E50M, and we can side scrape him and pen him through the tracks. 846, huge shot. And he does not look like he wants to re-peek us, but the Progetto does, and he will go through our lore plate. As I have mentioned before, this tank's lore plate is quite weak. Now, let's see if we can shoot the Progetto. We cannot, but now I'm in kind of a crossfire if I peek, so I have to watch out. I'm trying to bait the Progetto to peek here, because I'm aiming at the E50M, but I'm ready to just shoot the Progetto in case he peeks. But he does not want to budge over us, or into us. And as you can see that the other side is kind of fallen, because the Leo 1 has already went back, and there is the Progetto, and you see that you are very... It's very hard to hit those snapshots in this tank. You need to fully aim most of the time, and that's very frustrating when it thanks to the guns like this, because once you miss that opportunity, you're going to be reloading for 15 seconds, and you're going to be that one sitting duck that cannot do anything other than angle his armor and try to bounce those shots. Now once again a miss coming in on the Progetto, another 3rd miss or 4th miss this game. That was just like very close, but what was not fully aimed. I also like to snapshot in my tanks, so yeah. But yeah, this game is kind of stale, and the enemy is attacking, and they only have less than 5 minutes to actually finish their game. Now let's see what their next move is going to be. Now I see that the pattern is peeking on the right side, and I was kind of bored, so I was check. Oh yeah, let's push this guy. Maybe we can shoot him. And well, if that would have connected, I would have been a very happy person, but even if that connected, it would not have been a guaranteed pen, because the M48 pattern in turret is actually not that bad against heat shells, especially heat shells, which don't really have that much pen like this tank does, like 317 pen. One thing that's good about this tank though is going cooldown with it. It does have this prominent cupola weak spot that is fairly easy to hit, but not a lot of people have the kind of cat reflexes and cat aim to hit that. So you're going to be wanting to take advantage of that and the 8 degrees of gun depression as well. Now this game is very weird. Now they have a 257 on J3 actually as well camping. Probably he's AFK, or I'm not sure. But now I decide to push out this side, and I am alone with the STRV support. We have 4.3k damage. Not a bad game so far, but can we make this a little bit better? And that is the question here. Can we find the IS-7? That would be huge. And they also have the 2 TDs camping in the back. And let's see how this game is going to evolve now. We get spotted, and I'm sure that one of the TDs are on the ridgeline there. And the IS-7 has already rotated towards my left, and I decide, oh, I'm just gonna ignore those guys, and I'm going to try to orient myself towards the IS-7, and because also it's full HP, and that HP would add a lovely collection to my damage. Right now, yeah, pushing the IS-7 here, and the projectile actually goes down, but I still have to be careful when I push the IS-7 because of those 2 TDs in the back, and the IS-7 actually is not running away, and this is a perfect opportunity for me to put a huge shot into him. Now he actually pens us instantly. As you can see, the armor is not the greatest. Once they find that lower plate, they are going to be penning you all the time. And let's see if we can put one more into his upper plate. Nope, we actually miss our mark, and we could not find our shot in there. And now this is a even harder situation now, because the IS-7 has taken refuge below that castle, and for me to shoot him I have to overpeak, and I'm going to get shot by those 2 TDs. Now I'm trying to take my chances here and cross and finish the projecto, which I can, and actually pick him up 740. The Scorpion G is not really in position to support the IS-7 fully, and I think he's going to go down shortly because he's just in the open. And let's see if I can actually connect onto this IS-7. Now I have to overcommit here. This was very risky what I did actually in hindsight, but once I face hack him, he practically has very little chance of penning me. And this is the good thing about this tank as well. You want to face hack a lot because they are going to be struggling penning you. And yeah, now I'm just going to finish this guy real quick, make quick work of him, and now there is only one tank left, the K91. And let's see, let's speed this up a little bit, and there he goes, and we connect. 7,000 damage, 2,000 spotting damage, 1.2k blocked. As you can see, the armor did not really hold up in any case, because we couldn't really go hold down, we couldn't really side script, there was no opportunities. But let's see the other replay. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys this next replay, and I already quick forwarded it a bit. It's not going to be that long, but here you can see what this tank is capable of when you go hold down, and already we find the cupola of the Crown Wagon for 684. And yeah, that's the reason I wanted to show this replay as well, because here we get to push into the hold down position against weaker tanks that are super heavy tanks. And let's see if we can actually shoot them quite a lot. You can see that the heat shells are already struggling to pan through that EVA 100's turret. And basically the whole point of this is going to be that you see that once this tank goes hold down, it actually works, and it only works because the cupola is going to be quite further behind, and it's going to be much harder to hit. Now let's see if we can finish this E3, and can we find his lower plate right there? We actually do. Beautiful connection, and you can see that the EVA 100 actually pushed up quite far. The Crown Wagon is about to drop. Now this EVA 100 is probably going to have another EVA 100 body close, because there are 2 of them if you check here. And there's the face actually appears. We can't reload in time, and we can't get a shot into him, but we do connect the EVA 100. As you can see, once again, these heavy tanks, because you have so much HP and you have so much alpha damage, you always want to trade your HP. See, I traded for 400 damage for 800 basically. And let's see if we can finish the face. Very important to make those kills as well. So you always want to trade, because you can take so many hits, and you can also drop burst stabs, but I don't recommend it, and you can get HP booster instead. And you can see that the alpha is just making massive work of these enemy tanks, and we actually connect this Charfutur, setting him on fire, and he is going to burn for 1700 damage. We do not kill him unfortunately with that shot, but that's really lucky. And that extra 866 fire damage is basically the equivalent of another connected shell. Now this EVA 100 is carelessly showing his turret side to me, 848. The alpha, once you can use it and once you can be in a hold-on situation, it's really, really good. Overall, I still don't really like this tank, and I feel like there are much better tanks in this tier as heavy tanks, but it still can be quite fun, and you don't need to. This tank, I could recommend this to late buy gamers who come home from a long day of work and want to enjoy some kind of tank that doesn't need to that you basically don't need to think that much when you play this tank. You just go forward, you just shoot. It's quite chill to play this tank. It's quite relaxing. It's not really that kind of fast like you would, for example, get with playing the STB1 or the 140 or whatever. For me, it's not really a tank that I would enjoy playing long term. I played a couple of games. It was okay, and let's see if we can continue and connect this guy. That was actually green. The pen marker was green right there, and we bounced him once again. The penetration of the heat shells is just not really going to cut it, and I'm going to speed this up because there's nothing happening here. However, if you can find those sluggish German armored tanks like the Jagdtiger, you're going to be going straight through them, and we already up to 6.6k damage with 2k spotting, and that's really, really good. Now let's see if we can kill the 261. That would be really, really good as well. And yeah, basically this tank is also an RT magnet, not just this game but overall, because it's huge, it's very easy to hit, and it's very sluggish. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, this tank is not for me. It's very sluggish, the gun is not that reliable, the penetration kind of sucks, but once you can get into those hold down positions and basically connect your shells, you are going to be a pretty big threat to your opponents. Thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and please write me in the comments what do you think about the 6TP, and what do you guys think, most importantly, about the turbo meta affecting these super heavy tanks like the EVA 100, the 60TP, the IS-4. Just tell me your opinion, guys. What do you think about this? Does the turbo make it damn OP? Does it break the balance that is between medium tanks and heavy tanks and all that? Let me know, and see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also,